Welcome back into the Sean and Sean podcast. We had a nice weekend of football this past weekend. Cat Daddy, your thoughts?
It was a really good weekend of football. We had football on Friday in college. We had Saturday, some more college. We had NFL on Sunday. And this is the first episode of the 2022 year. So hopefully everybody had
It is
a
New
happy
Year, isn't it?
and safe new year. We saw lots of records broken this week, whether it was team records, rookie records, league records. The playoff picture became more clear. We saw quarterbacks throwing into double and triple coverage. And yeah, we saw a lot this week. But let's start off with, do you have any New Year's resolutions?
I don't really believe in New Year's resolutions. I believe in trying to do things that I would do normally. So I don't do anything specifically because it's a brand new year. I think that's nonsense.
I agree with that for the most part. I don't like New Year's resolutions because I don't like waiting until January to make a change. If I need to make a
That's the
change, I'll
thing.
make it tonight. I'll make it tomorrow
Exactly.
morning.
When you think of it.
Unless it's like working out or exercising, in which case I'll save that for Monday. But
Well, I mean, that being said, I'm gonna try to make it to the gym tomorrow. But I mean, that being said, I've been procrastinating for the last 2 weeks, so that's neither here nor there. Now, New Year's resolutions, personal, like workout preferences aside, we're gonna get into these games. So we're gonna start with. Oh, by the way, they were all Sunday games except for the one. So yeah, heavy Sunday lineup. First we had the Falcons and the Bills. Actually, before we get into the Falcons and the Bills, I think I prefer this. I really do. I think we just need to get back to just having all games on Sunday because I enjoy just having the games just happen. The Thursday night game, like having a week without a Thursday night game doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me at all.
yeah, I'll agree with you there. The Thursday night game, I could go without it because we haven't seen a lot of good Thursday night games. They're coming off short weeks. The players are barely recovering from the previous game. I would be more a fan of the Thursday game if the NFL had those teams that were coming off a bye play on the Thursday game. That way they're fully rested. They're more prepared to play a game instead of a quick 4-day turnaround where we don't quite get the same quality, if you will. It's slightly different. But yeah, was I good with that Thursday game? I was.
Yeah. Now starting off, we got the Falcons traveling to Buffalo to face the Bills, and the Bills came out on top with this one, and the Falcons proved exactly what I've been saying all year, what exactly what I said since the draft. I think they should have moved on. They should have started their rebuild. Don't get me wrong, Kyle Pitts had a wonderful season, had an amazing rookie season, but 2 catches, 69 yards, and a losing effort, it doesn't tell me anything about where they're going. Now, if they had like a rookie QB like Mac Jones or like Justin Fields, you could see where it's heading with everything, But right now, we've got an aging quarterback in Matt Ryan, and we've got an offensive line which is blah, and an awesome tight end.
I think this was an unusual year for the Falcons and Kyle Pitts because Kyle Pitts was never meant to be de facto wide receiver number 1. He was supposed to be that number 2 receiving option, but circumstances happened. He was thrown into that number 1 role. So I think that really threw a wrench into the plans, but they didn't look good before he took on those wide receiver duties. I think Arthur Blank was banking on a Matt Ryan resurgence under Arthur Smith, hoping to, get a trip to the playoffs, get some more wins. But here we are, and Kyle Pitts is the first tight end in 60 years to top 1,000 receiving yards, which is a record of sorts. But then, in context, this game today is much more pass heavy, and it's easier to get 1,000 yards for any
I do
position
want to do that. I want to
compared
preference
to
this.
years ago.
Let me preference this because we had this conversation with a buddy. I don't think. All right, specific records. I would say matter if they happen now, but the most records that happen now, I don't think matter. So in most cases, you have two more games. First and foremost, three more games now. So anybody sitting there saying that there should be an asterisk on, you know, anybody who gets a record in week 17, man, Tom Brady been getting records in week 16 for how many years? It's just like, go back to when there was 14 games. Go back when Marino started out and when he started his records. So don't get me started on that. Two, with the way the passing game has evolved and the way that the quarterbacks and receivers can get around things. So a rushing record, what Derrick Henry was doing, would still make more sense. But then again, you still got more games. It's not like he's doing what Eric Dickerson or what O.J. Simpson or the guy from the Oilers. What's his name?
Eric Dickerson.
It was Eric Dickerson. Who's the guy I'm thinking of?
Right, Jim Brown.
No. The guy from the Rams. I thought that was Eric Dickerson. No, it's not Eric Dickerson from the Oilers.
Wait, who am I thinking of? Oh, no.
We're gonna consult the
consult with some producers here. It's Earl Campbell.
Earl Campbell. I knew it.
My bad. That was off on there.
It was an E name. It's an E name. But you get what I'm saying. This isn't what we're talking about here. You know? So we got to really take some of these records and this history that is being made with a grain of salt. I'm sorry, we really do. I get that it's the game now, but let's not sit there and say the first since the 1960s. And it's a different game.
It definitely much more favors these quarterbacks are now throwing the ball 50, 60 times a week at some games.
I mean,
it's definitely different from 50 years ago.
You look at the stats, because we did that too, for Bob Bullet Hayes. Holy cow. How did he even do that back then?
He gets, 11 interceptions in a season. The quarterback's only throwing, 15 times a game.
Well, no. Bob Bullet Hayes was the receiver. He was one of the first real deep threats. He has,
that's right, yeah.
In his career, you're thinking of Dick Night Train Lane.
Yeah, I was thinking of Lane. Man, I'm off this week. This is bad.
Is 38 touchdowns of 40 yards or more in his career, and he played in the frickin' 60s. That was a time where the DBs could basically just mug them, hold them the whole way down. Illegal contact didn't exist. So,
there was no cover 2 back then to stop this.
All right, next up, we have
Yes, we do. You sure you don't want to talk about the Falcons for a few more minutes?
No. Okay. No, we're gonna move on to the Giants going to Chicago to face the Bears, and the Giants went to Chicago.
There were players in Giants uniform in Chicago. I'll give you that.
People.
So, how did the $72 million man do?
Who? Oh, you mean Kenny Galladay? No touchdowns.
He had one target. You know what happened on that one target? It was deflected into an interception.
Hey, Saquon topped 100 yards for the first time.
I mean, he was averaging nearly 5 yards a carry. I don't know why the Giants didn't just line up Barkley and the Wildcat and just snap it directly to him every single play.
Or just run Barkley and Booker the whole game.
It couldn't have been worse than Mike Glennon because, this was the most excited that Chicago's ever been to see Mike Glennon. He made the defense look like a whole bunch of all-pros. On the day, he was 4 of 11 passing, 24 yards total passing. He also had 4 fumbles, 2 of which he lost. He was sacked 4 times in the day. When you factor in his sacks into the net passing yards, The Giants ended with -10 net passing yards on the game.
Jesus.
It was horrible. Just put Barkley back there, direct snap every play, see what happens. It's going to be better.
Oh yeah, but players are calling Joe Judge. Players who left for other teams are calling Joe Judge, saying they wish they were there. Sure.
All right. Hey, I'm glad you mentioned that because that brings up something I wanted to talk about. If Joe Judge is in contact with these players and they're asking to come back and they're asking to return to the Giants, that's called tampering, Joe Judge. You can't do that during the season. You can't do that at all. That's called tampering. So congratulations. You are just getting yourself in hot water if the NFL decides to look into this. But I think his claims may be exaggerated and or false to begin with, so there probably is no wrongdoing there. I don't know who wants to come to this New York.
What? Whoa. Uh-oh. Technical difficulties.
Yes.
We just had an appearance that...
She wanted to be the...
Turn the camera a bit, Sean.
And I told her she couldn't be the center of attention, so she stormed off.
Oh. All right.
Here we
You
go.
want to go further this one on, or are we moving on?
We'll save some of this for the next segment where we talk about the hot seat because I think Joe Judge may discuss. We'll see.
All right. Next up, we're gonna go to the Dolphins versus the Titans, and the Dolphins also forgot to show up because they got beat 34-30. And they got basically eliminated from playoff contention. You know something? I'm going to give it up for Brian Flores. He's had a rough season. Hit a lot of injuries, a lot of figuring out to do with this team. They do need to figure some things out to move forward. They need to get an identity because I don't think they really have one.
No, they don't. That's the tough part. Miami comes into this game on a 7-game winning streak, and Ryan Tannehill said, I don't care. This is my revenge game. Not only did Ryan Tannehill lead the Titans to victory, which helped clinch the AFC South for them, he also eliminated the Dolphins, his former team, from the playoffs.
He didn't really do that much, let's be honest.
I know. It's narrative. Don't worry.
I know,
Don't
but
worry.
I'm just saying, like, Tua threw for 209 yards, which was more than Ryan Tannehill.
Oh,
I get
man,
a win's a win.
Tua looked bad. He didn't look good. When that ball slipped out of his hand near the end of the first quarter, that
It was
shouldn't
gonna be a long
happen.
day.
That shouldn't happen. Nah, Jalen Waddle comes into this game. He needed 6 receptions to break the rookie record of 101, previously held by Anquan Bolt. But he only finished with 3 catches, which is highly unusual, a very low amount. He had 7 targets, which is also pretty low. Unfortunately, Jalen Waddle is going to need the 18th week to get that record. However,
Doesn't matter.
even with
Doesn't
the
matter.
final week, he will have only played 16 games this season due to the
So
one he
there's
missed for
that.
COVID. So,
And he's only started how many games? Let's be honest here.
yeah.
Took a little bit for them to get him going.
It
Let's
did.
just move on from this one because there's not much to say here. Tennessee did what they did. Miami did what they didn't. And Miami's searching while Tennessee is the number 1 seed somehow. All right, next up, we have the Raiders traveling to Indianapolis and taking down them Colts to be in playoff contention-ish.
Ish, yeah, Ish is right. Oh,
And I don't know, this game felt sloppy to me.
it did. The Raiders came out and they played extra hard for John Madden this week. Carson Wentz is why teams will not fear the Colts if they get to
Ain't
the
that the truth?
playoffs. Yes, he has a big arm, but his decision making is going to get himself into trouble because Carson Wentz had one of the luckiest plays of the week, possibly the year, when he threw that 45-yard
T.Y.
pass to the end zone into double coverage, only to have the 2 defenders and Austin Doolin collide. Ball gets deflected up. T.Y. Hilton's just standing there, falls into his arms, and he's like, touchdown. That is not how they drew it up in the huddle, I guarantee that.
All right, up next, we have the Jaguars traveling to um, New England to face the Patriots, and they lost. That's the story there. If there's any game that needed like a get right aspect to it, I mean, Mac Jones got some get right here.
Yep, the entire Patriots did as well. I mean, they were scoring at will against Jacksonville. There was nothing Jacksonville could do to stop it. If you watch the highlights of this game, it was pretty much 5.5 minutes of the Patriots just slaughtering the Jaguars. And then you had about 13 seconds of Jaguar highlights where they showed Trevor Lawrence's first touchdown pass in the past 5 weeks.
Trevor Lawrence trying to do something with absolutely nothing.
Interception, interception, interception.
Pretty much. Well, we
Yeah.
got receivers that can't play.
Offensive line that doesn't block.
Next up, coaches that can't coach. Next up, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers went to New Jersey, and it took them a while to figure out how to play in this game. I mean, there's a situation that happened that kind of probably affected them mentally, but they were already losing in this game before
Yeah.
that situation. And just
That
to
was the
touch on
third
that
quarter.
situation early, Antonio Brown, apparently, from what I'm hearing, and I can neither confirm or deny this, but apparently he said he thought he was injured, or he decided, or he was injured, or whatever. And then the coaching staff wanted him to go back in the game, but he didn't want to go back in the game because he was injured. Now, this is where it gets a little fishy, because if you listen to Bruce Arians saying that he had no idea that Antonio Brown was injured. I don't know how that's possible because that's the reason why he didn't want to go back in the game. So I find it hard to believe that he didn't say, I'm injured, I'm not going back in the game. But somehow, he was told to go back in the game. He said he wasn't going back in the game for whatever reason. Then he got told to go home. Now, note, again, Bruce Arians is saying he may or may not have been told to go home. Bruce Arians is being very weird about this situation. So that's something that's got me feeling a little, because like he's being very cryptic, which makes it feel like he might have said something he shouldn't have said. But
Yeah, the Antonio Brown camp is trying to say that he was feeling this way before the game, so he felt like he wasn't ready to play the game. He wasn't
Right.
healthy enough for the game, but Bruce Arians had him going anyways. The part
Right.
that I find strange is when Antonio Brown leaves the field,
Leaves.
he's doing all this jumping,
right,
running.
right.
But did you see any of his ankles taped up? Did you see that
No,
bum ankle
no.
get wrapped? We didn't see that, but that's not for us to judge. He may need some help and assistance, and I hope he gets it. But as Andrew Brent
That's what
says,
I'm gonna say.
there will be lawyers.
No, but I gotta say this. Honestly, I am putting some heat on Arians for this. I get you're a coach, and I get that football's a business also. But this is a man who we clearly can see has some sort of mental issues that are going on. I'm sorry, I'm saying it. Because with every antic that we've seen happen, starting with the twerking, from there, we can clearly see that there's something going on here that needs to be addressed. So just to treat him like, oh, he's just a bad guy, I can't get on board with that. I think
It's not fair.
I think I don't think there's a fairness there. I think there's a gray area here with Antonio Brown.
Yep, yeah. I mean, see, now you're going to get me started on Bruce Arians. Now, the problem I have with Bruce Arians is when they brought Antonio Brown to Tampa Bay, there was the no tolerance for distractions, no tolerance for
Right.
any of his off-field stuff. And what happened like a month or so ago, a little bit over a month ago? Antonio Brown was caught using a fake vaccination card.
Not just him. You
Yeah,
got
there
another
was.
player on the team involved.
Yeah, but if we're just focusing on Antonio Brown here and relating that to Bruce Arians' talk about he's going to have this no
He should have been
tolerance
gone.
policy, he should have been gone. But you know what happened? Mike Evans and Chris Godwin got injured before his suspension was up, and Bruce Arians is thinking, oh
Not just
no,
that.
I need a wide receiver. Leonard Fournette too. I mean, there's more
Well,
going
no,
into
not
it.
just that. Brashad Perriman was on COVID.
Yeah, you have all these players out, and Bruce Arians is like, well, now I'm desperate for talent. Now I'm desperate for somebody to be on the field to help me win the ball game. So I'm going to go ahead and walk back on my previous statement of no distractions. I'm going to say that Antonio Brown served his punishment of 3-game suspension from the league, and there's going to be no further discipline required. So it all blew up in Bruce Arians' face because he gambled on Antonio Brown and he lost. Had he held firm with his no tolerance for distractions, Antonio Brown would have been out of Tampa Bay when his suspension was up. This wouldn't have happened.
And we wouldn't have been sitting here wondering, like, with these cryptic things. You can't sit there, have the guy on the team, and not want to answer questions. I'm sorry, you just can't do it. That's why Bill Belichick had Antonio Brown there, for what? Quick cup of coffee and out?
Less than 2 weeks. It was less than 2 weeks.
Belichick was like, nope, got to go. All right.
Back to the game.
Let's get away from the drama.
Back to the game.
Oh, wait,
Game.
Yes.
It was a wacky and bizarre day because New York had a 2-possession lead going late into the third quarter. Braxton Berrios was going to be the hero that Gotham needed. And then you get down to the fourth quarter, and this is where my WTF moment for the week comes in. Fourth quarter, you're up by 4 points. It's your offense hasn't been doing too well. You're forced 3 and outs on your previous 2 possessions. You have this final drive going, and it's a productive one. You get to the red zone, and you're faced with a 4th and 2 from Tampa Bay 7. Now you have 2 options. You can kick it and go up 7, but you're going to give the ball back to Tom Brady with less than 2 minutes, or you go for it on 4th down. If you are successful in converting it, this game is over. You're just going to ice, you can take knees, run the clock down, you're going to win. Or you fail and you give the ball back to Tom Brady, but now he has to go 93 yards. I have no problem with being aggressive and going for it on the 4th down. I am cool with that. I probably would have done the same thing if I were the Jets, because we're not taking the Patriots to overtime. My problem lies... The Buccaneers. We're not taking the Buccaneers to overtime. But my problem lies with the play calling. It's 4th and 2. You're going against Tampa Bay's defense, and you call a quarterback sneak right up the middle. What are you doing? That's 6 feet up the middle against Tampa Bay's defense. This isn't a 4th and short. This isn't 4th and inches where you can sneeze and get over the line. This is 6 feet that you have to move against that Tampa Bay defense, that Tampa Bay front 4. That was a ridiculous call. They could have done anything else.
I do have a question here. How much do you think Michael Carter leaving the game with a concussion hurt the Jets? Because they were already without Tevin Coleman. Ty Johnson has obviously proved he's not the guy. Michael Carter was killing the Bucs.
He was. I mean, you might as well find a way to get Braxton Berrios the ball, because he was the Jets' offense.
They should have probably ran a reverse with Braxton Berrios. I bet you they would have got it. But hindsight being 2020, my question is, going forward, also, I have another question. How much confidence do you have in this Tampa Bay Bucs team? Like, honestly, because I don't have much.
Yeah, honestly, with the meltdown and the pending release of Antonio Brown, you have Mike Evans, who's still a little bit banged up. You're going to be without Chris Godwin. That Tampa Bay offense is going to be relying on an injured Mike Evans, a pretty veteran tight end core. Gronkowski's the best of the options. You have some fill-in wide receivers. I don't feel good about Tampa Bay because their defense has also had some
The
slight
Jets
issues.
just gave them all they could handle. I'm worried here. I don't see them making it back to the Super Bowl unless somehow Tom Brady catches fire with like Garrett Grayson or whatever his name is.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit challenging. They're going to need some things to go their way, fall in their favor in order to make it there. But a couple of weeks ago, there would have been a lot of confidence in Tampa Bay to be able to get back to the Super Bowl. Now,
not as much.
It's not looking good.
All right, moving on. We're going to talk about a specific game, and I'm going to try not to take too much time here. So the Arizona Cardinals went into AT&T Stadium to face Dallas Cowboys, and I got a few things to say here. First thing, everybody's right. For the majority of this game, the Cowboys did not play well enough to win this game. But I'm sorry, NFL. This is my first issue. You guys put in this new replay system to get things right. Well, at the end of this game, there was a fumble recovered by the Cowboys that should have given the Cowboys an opportunity to win this game, which they quite possibly would have won this game the way they were playing at that given time. Unfortunately, no one did chime down. Mike McCarthy had used his timeouts. Cardinals ran the ball out. Good for the Cardinals. They got a win. I don't care. Most likely, we're going to be seeing them again in 2 weeks. It's just what it is. My other issue with this game, which which I want to get out now. I'm not down with the Dak Prescott slander because the running game has been dog crap for the last 8 weeks. I'm sorry. You see these other quarterbacks who are shining. Their running backs are at least doing something. Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, even Tom Brady. The running backs are doing something. These running backs for the Cowboys are not doing something. And I'm just wondering, maybe, because people are quick to put it on Dak, maybe we shouldn't have the same love for Kellen Moore that, where's his blame in all of this? Because we've seen it before with him where his offense gets stale or kind of stumbles later in the year. So I'm hoping he's got something more because, no pun intended, because right now it feels like it's his offensive scheme more than the player personnel. Now, with that, I'm going to give the Cardinals credit. One of the big things they did in this game is they batted down a lot of passes, which, helped stall drives. But, I mean, I'm sorry, you can't tell me that these receivers can't get open against coverage. It's got to be the offensive scheme. All right, any thoughts on this one, Sean, before we move on?
Yeah, I've got a few thoughts for this game. The one is Dallas suffered a few losses in this one. Not only the game, but they lost the chance for the number 2 seed. Michael Gallup suffered a torn ACL on his touchdown reception, and I just have to say how impressive that was that
he caught it.
That he caught it and then held on to the ball. Because if that were me, I would have flung the ball far away from me as possible. That way nobody came over to hit me while the ACL was being torn and damaged.
Yeah, he said he heard the pop before the catch.
Yeah, and he still came down with it, so that's very impressive for him. Hopefully it's a quick recovery. I was surprised that Dallas couldn't get anything going on the ground. I know they haven't been that strong in the running game the past couple of weeks, but I was really surprised they couldn't get it going against.
I think it's the design, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Kyler Murray remains undefeated in AT&T Stadium. I did. And people are making a big deal about Trayvon Diggs having allowed 1,000 yards receiving this year. And I'm going to ask you if that's a big deal to you, but for me, I'm not worried or concerned about it for 2 reasons if I'm the Dallas Cowboys. First of all, all of those yards that are being given up
Majority.
aren't actually given up by Trayvon Diggs. Like, there's a lot that goes into coverage schemes, but he just happened to be the one who they assessed those yards to.
But even more to that, how many of these yards happen in garbage time?
No, that's part of it too. It's scheme, it's the time of the game. And the second reason I'm not worried about it would be the man is leading the league with 11 interceptions this season. You don't get that level.
Interceptions.
You don't get that level of take
No.
without taking some risks. And I'm sure if you ask Mike McCarthy, Dan Quinn, Jerry Jones, if they would be okay if the star cornerback gave up 1,000 yards if it led to him having more interceptions in the year, I'd be okay with it. I think they'd be okay with it.
It's not just that, Sean. He's also leading the league by a mile with like 25 pass deflections.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, I'm sorry, you don't get not good at coverage when you lead the league in interceptions and pass deflections.
So you're not worried about that either?
No.
Okay, I didn't think you'd be.
I'm more worried about the refs, but you know, that's me. Dallas can't make a game close because if it's close and it comes down to the refs, I see which way it's going to go. You agree that game should have continued, right? Because the refs do have the ability to chime down and change that play.
New York should have done something.
Right. So moving on. I told you I don't want to stay on that too long. I just, So next up, we have the Eagles going to a place. So it's the Eagles going to basically Washington, which is in Maryland. They play in Maryland, and the Eagles win 20-16. This was another ugly game. I didn't like, and the only thing I liked about this game was Dallas Goedert. So yes, the Eagles, great job signing Dallas Goedert. He got his money and he's showing up. This game does have my WTF moment. Good Lord, Dan Snyder. Good Lord. I mean, I'm sorry. I think they need to take the team away from him. They need a new owner here. They need someone with deep pockets that's going to do something. Because when your stadium's this crappy, where two opponents in a row brought their own benches and beat you, I mind you, and then that's not even it. That's not even that Philly brought their own benches. And I bet money that Philly won't be bringing their own benches to Dallas. I bet money they won't.
They shouldn't.
But the big issue here that I have this week is Jalen Hurts is leaving the field. And as he's leaving the field, there's these fans that are hanging off, like they're in the stands, they're hanging off the end, trying to get him to shake their hand. And the siding just falls off, and these fans almost, like the siding and the fans almost collapse on Jalen Hurts. First of all, if I'm a Philly fan or even a Philly executive or coaching staff, I'm going to be pissed because we're on our way to the playoffs and y'all almost hurt our QB. No sir. Two, if I'm one of them fans, I'm getting paid because what is this nonsense? Your stadium's falling apart.
Yeah, that's a big story here. Forget that Washington had the 16-7 lead going into the half, and they ended up losing 20-16, getting shut in the second half. FedEx Field is a joke. Philly brings their own benches. Your railings are falling apart, and thankfully the railing collapsed right in the front where it wasn't too high off the ground. I mean, at this point, it was like, 4-ish, maybe 5 feet off the ground that these people fell. They still fell.
Yeah.
But this is a complete joke, and Washington wants to distract everybody by announcing they're going to unveil their new team name in early February.
I don't care.
I think that was just used as distraction. I don't think they meant to put that out a month ahead of time. I think it's like, man, we got some bad PR coming from our stadium. We got to distract people somehow. Just like
the other PR move for Sean Taylor, which was kind of, it felt like one of those moves. It's another one that they're doing now.
Yeah, would they have otherwise done that had they not needed to distract people?
Exactly, exactly.
They should have regardless, but would
Yeah,
they
no, no.
have?
They
That's the
said, "Oh, we
question.
were always planning to do this."
Sure you
Sure,
were.
sure. All right, moving on from this because you know
Nothing good comes from this
is
Washington
what it
team.
is.
No.
Next up, we had the Rams going to Baltimore to face the Ravens, who were Lamar Jackson less again. Um, and the Rams barely pulled this one out. My only takeaway from this is Matthew Stafford's kind of fallen off a cliff, hasn't he?
It was a comeback victory by the Rams. Odell Beckham Jr. made, I thought, 2 great catches on that final drive. One where he is converting the 4th down, and 2 when he got the go-ahead touchdown. Those were fantastic plays, and it shows why they signed him. My only problem with this is that the Rams never should have been put in this position to barely beat the Baltimore Ravens, a Ravens team that is depleted on defense,
Depleted.
especially the secondary. You're without Lamar Jackson for your 3rd game. The Rams should have won this by double digits. Matthew Stafford needs to do better. He threw his league 4th pick 6 of the season.
Gross.
I don't know if it's Stafford. I don't know if it's play calling, but his play and production has fallen off since November. Since November, he's actually had 16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and 18 sacks.
And how much of this is McVay? Because wouldn't Jared Goff start out hot and then tail off also?
He did, but
So I'm wondering,
is it McVay or is it the quarterback?
or is it a little bit of both?
It might be a little bit of both, because Stafford, just like Goff, was the one out there making the decisions on where and when to throw that ball. But this Rams team is far too talented to have beaten the Ravens by 1 point. But yeah, it is a trend. And does it give the Rams or the Rams fans any confidence heading into the postseason?
Needing to play a team like, let's say, Arizona. Or let's say they're the 2 seed, they're playing. I mean, if they're the 2 seed, they're probably playing. San Fran or?
I think they might get Philly.
Or Philly, yeah, Philly. Are you really that confident playing Philly?
Yeah, you should be.
No. Right now, Philly's got the 6 seed.
They do?
It would be San Fran or it would be the Saints. San Francisco and the Saints are going for that final spot this coming week. Because Philly's already in.
I think if San Fran gets it, I think San Fran would get the 6th seed.
We'll have to see. Because I know Philly is already in. When Green Bay beat the Vikings, they put Philly in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think that means San Fran or New Orleans would be 7, though. I think they have a chance.
New Orleans
of being
would be
6
7, hands down. Hands down, New Orleans would be 7.
San Fran might be 6, so we'll have to find out next week once all this shakes out. But yeah, if it's Philadelphia, if it's New Orleans, if it's San Francisco,
if it's Philly, I think Philly has a chance to beat the Rams. The way that if they play like they played against the Ravens, I think Philly also has a chance to beat Tampa.
That is a vulnerable team right now.
I mean, all the teams.
Dallas.
I mean, Arizona just beat Dallas, so it's going to be an interesting playoffs when it starts. We still got another week to talk about. Next up, 2 teams that were vying for a playoff spot. One that still is after this game. The Broncos went into LA. The Chargers beat them down. Drew Lock didn't play bad, but didn't play good.
But he didn't play bad.
He didn't. He really didn't play bad.
No.
He just didn't play good.
he was channeling his inner Teddy Bridgewater again, which is helping him avoid turnovers. But he wasn't like big play Drew showing off the arm. But there wasn't a lot that Denver did right in this game.
No, there wasn't.
They came in. And that's on both sides of the ball. The offense just wasn't getting it done.
Well, when did the Chargers
Again,
run defense get that good?
whenever they play Pat Shermer, I don't know.
Ah,
They shut down Javonte Williams. That's all I know.
and Gordon.
Yeah, I mean Gordon had a more productive day, but they really shut down Williams. And I know this because he was on my fantasy team. Granted, he was on my bench, but I still had my eye on him. And then the Denver defense comes into this one missing 6 starters, and the Chargers showed no mercy.
There was a Denver defender that looked real good, though.
Who's that?
That was, right?
Who's that?
PS2.
What?
CD1.
What?
Patrick Surtain II. That's number 2, right? He's number two, right?
PS2. Yes.
Yes.
But number 1 in our hearts. Yes.
Yeah, he was. I mean, every time there was a highlight of a defender doing something, it was him.
It was.
He made life hard for Keenan Allen. But not to spend too much on this one. We're getting a little long in the tooth here, and you got a game to talk about. So let's go to the Texans going to Santa Clara to face those Niners. Trey Lance got the start. Started off a little slow, but Trey Lance came on a little bit later, and he had a pretty decent game.
He did. The first half was slow, but the first half he was 10 of 13, 105 yards. No touchdowns. He had an interception in the first half. The second half turned out much better. He completed 6 of 10 in the second half, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns.
And Brandon Ayuk.
It's that promise. It was that promise and potential of why San Francisco traded up to number 3.
Situation. I think they have to start Trey Lance this next week. I think they have to.
I would not want to be in Kyle Shanahan's shoes right now because you have a Week 18 matchup and the playoffs on the line because you need to win that game. If Jimmy G is healthy, do you go to Jimmy G or do you ride the potential of Trey Lance? It almost reminds me of what happened when they went to the Super Bowl years and years ago against the Ravens where they had Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick. Alex Smith gets injured, Kaepernick comes in and just takes over the starting job for the second half of the season. Now, in this scenario, Jimmy G is not as good as Alex Smith, and Trey Lance isn't as good as Colin Kaepernick was at that time.
Well, we know of.
It's not a direct comparison, but there's a lot of similarities in this situation, so I'm really curious to see what they do.
We don't know that Trey Lance isn't as good as Colin Kaepernick. We just know Jimmy G is not as good as Alex Smith.
Yeah, I was just trying to say that Kaepernick had this run up until the postseason, so it wasn't as if he started the last 2 games and they went on. He had this run when, yeah.
All right, next one. We have the Panthers traveling down to New Orleans. And another ugly game. New Orleans won. New Orleans are still in playoff contention. Marquez Callaway finally did stuff that Sean's been wanting him to do all year. But he was also still dropping the ball. So I'm really interested to see where this goes. I still think that New Orleans needs a QB, but they could make it into the playoffs.
They could. The only real note I have for this game is Sam Darnold had all the pass attempts, and it showed. He attempted 26 passes. He threw for 132 yards. He only threw 1 interception. He was sacked 7 times. Carolina has a lot of issues that start with the general manager and the head coach.
Yes, they do. Next up, we had the Lions go out to Seattle. And I love it. Seattle has nothing to play for. So they just decide, we're just going to put up a bunch of points. And Rashad Penny is like, yeah, I'm just going to wait till my 4th year in the league.
You know what?
All of a sudden be a guy.
Maybe now is the time to show that I was really worth that first round pick 4 years ago.
Seriously.
It goes to show that was Seattle right with Rashad Penny? Yeah, it's hard to say, but when he's healthy.
Can't say that.
When he's healthy, though, look how
Well, no,
well.
but this is the first time we've seen this. He's been healthy before and not this good.
Yeah, maybe it's taken him a couple years to get the offense and such.
Again, that would make them wrong if he's a first-round running back. Sorry.
Yeah, he can't wait 4 years to start showing up. But Jared Goff was inactive in this game, so we got to see Tim Boyle again. Amon-Ra St. Brown, and the Lions put up 29 points, which is pretty good. It's just unfortunate that Russell Wilson found his way back to the kitchen. He cooked up 51 with Seattle. So,
All right.
do we see Russell Wilson in a Seattle jersey next year? That's the question we'll be debating for many, many weeks, possibly
TBA.
months.
We'll be talking about that at some point.
Yeah.
Next up, Sean, go ahead because I ain't got nothing for this.
All right. It was clear the Vikings were missing Kirk Cousins. So all of those haters out there who are saying that Kirk Cousins is an overrated quarterback, they probably...
Well, he is, but he's not overrated to the point where Sean Manning is going to do something.
But all of those haters are wishing he was playing in this game, and I don't think Minnesota realizes how good of a quarterback Kirk Cousins has become for them, at least for this year. But after a slow start, the soon-to-be MVP Aaron Rodgers and the Packers take care of business. They lock up the number 1 seed. They secure home field advantage. They earned that very, very valuable playoff bye week, which is going to be so important for them when it comes to all of their players who are injured and they need to come back. You're thinking Randall Cobb, Aaron's best friend, gets some extra time to recover. David Bakhtiari, Josh Myers, Zadarius Smith, Jair Alexander, players that they've been going sometimes, some of them all of the season without. And that bye week, I mean, they really have 2 bye weeks. They have Detroit coming up this week, and they don't need to play their starters because the game doesn't mean anything to them. And then they have that first round bye, so they don't have a meaningful game for another 3 weeks. But don't worry, Kirk Herbstreit's. The Packers still love to play the game, even if they don't play their starters on Sunday. But Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams just put on a clinic against that Minnesota secondary. It was.
That Minnesota secondary is not good, though.
It's garbage. It's garbage. But did you see those plays where Davante Adams wasn't even lifting up his hands to get the ball until it was maybe 3 feet away? The defender stood no chance against him.
Speaking of something like that, I'm going to go to the game of the week.
I was wondering about that one. I skipped that one.
No. I was holding it
off.
Oh,
that was strategy? Okay.
Yeah. So the Kansas City Chiefs went into Cincinnati to face those Bengals. And apparently, Ja'Marr Chase just doesn't get covered. Apparently, KC was like, you know something, that guy wearing number 1, he ain't really on the team, so just let him do whatever he wants. Good Lord. Did Ja'Marr Chase go ham on these fools?
Now, in defense of the Chiefs' defense...
There's no defense?
Cincinnati has a very talented trio of wide receivers.
I don't
T.
care.
Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Ja'Marr Chase. So you can't cover all 3 at the same time.
No, Sean. Did you see some of these? Did you see?
Oh, the one where he was running through Kansas City's defense because they forgot how to tackle?
How about that one? Where he outran everybody? I know he's fast, but he ain't that fast. Or the one where he's running down the sideline and it's like someone forgot he was there? I'm not talking about the passes where he just out-bullied them and just jumped over them and contested passes, which he had a bunch of those. I'm talking about the ones like that one where he just ran right through them. Or he's down, like, it's nuts. It's nonsense.
It almost seems to me that Kansas City came into this game feeling complacent because they already had the AFC West locked up. They were playing for home field advantage, and Cincinnati was fighting for the AFC North. The Bengals team just came out hungry for this, and Kansas City, they put up 28 points in the first half, but do you know how many points they got in the second half? 3. They put up 3 points the entire second half. Their defense got torched routinely by Burrow and Chase. I don't think they showed up to win.
It's crazy. All right, now we're going to get to that Monday night game. This is the game that TJ Watt got his Defensive Player of the Year award from. Thank you, Baker Mayfield. Baker's in a precarious situation, and so are the Cleveland Browns, because this game Baker did not look like the guy. He did not look like a franchise quarterback at all. If he's coming back at a small deal.
There's definitely not going to be an extension this offseason.
No.
If there is an extension, it's going to be at the end of next season once the season is completed. Is there some benefit of the doubt that we need to give to Baker Mayfield for a shoulder injury? Okay, there's some, but decision making is still on him.
It has been rough.
This Cleveland team has definitely taken a huge step backwards compared to their 2020 season where they made the playoffs. And coming into the season, there was a lot of expectation that Cleveland was going to win the division, return to the playoffs. And they've just fallen short on all of that. TJ Watt continues to wreck the game. He shows up. Whenever he plays, he wrecks the game.
Pittsburgh proved you wrong.
They did. They proved me wrong, because I said that Mike Tomlin was going to experience his first losing season in 15 years. And now at this point, Pittsburgh is 8-7-1. And they are guaranteed a non-losing season. So I was definitely proven wrong on that one. And did I hear Peyton Manning taking shots? Because I thought I heard him say that anytime Chubb is not next to Baker, nothing good is happening. So it's very true. If Baker's not handing the ball off to Nick Chubb, nothing good is happening. You're relying on Baker to throw, but Baker has decided, I don't know if he decided, but Baker is not playing in Week 18. He's going to have the surgery on his shoulder almost immediately, so he'll have, I think it's a 4-month recovery time frame.
He will be the Browns quarterback in 2022.
They're going to bring in competition, that's for sure.
What's that?
They're going to bring in competition.
I don't think they will. I don't think I don't think they're going to draft anybody really. I don't think it's through the draft. Yeah, I don't see any free agent person. If they're getting a free agent, they're going to get a legit free agent. And I don't see they're going to be one that's going to be. I don't think the Browns are going to be top contenders for the free agents coming with some of these other teams out there with the weapons that they have.
Don't worry, they'll go after Jimmy Garoppolo. Wouldn't that be a nice pair? Jimmy Garoppolo, Baker Mayfield.
All right. That being said, Sean, that's all the games this week. Any words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom. It's wintertime. It's icy. It's snowy. Be careful when you're shoveling, and be sure not to drink coffee or smoke cigarettes an hour before you shovel snow, because there's a study done that shows the effect of the increased blood pressure and the activity of shoveling snow that could lead to some heart damage. So if you're shoveling snow, drink your coffee afterwards, at least an hour later. Protect your heart.
Said coffee. From what I understand, put a lime or a lemon in your water when you're drinking water. Apparently that's good for you.
They're going to say coconut. Okay. Put a lime in the coconut.